do your thing. That was like a little shock, but also it was like good because it allowed me to just, wrestle free and not have the pressure of like, oh, like, if I don't do this, dad's going to get mad, or like if I don't perform this way, dad's going to say something, it just, it was great because the coach was just like, go out there, have fun, do your thing. Like, I'm not worried about you. And that was like sweet to see because I've never had that experience.
And I don't know what's your, maybe not today because you're out at Ohio State, but how is your
Mhm.
wrestling relationship with your dad moving forward from that point? Was it pretty much the same, or did things change in the way it was coach, athlete, dad, son mix?
Yeah. I mean, me and my dad just have like a good relationship in general. There's not much of whatever. I'd say he's probably more coach than father a lot of times, but how can you not? Like, he's been my coach my whole life, and he's also my dad. So you just kind of fall into that category, and he always wants the best for you. So why is he not gonna coach every moment he can, right? Um, I think the only thing that did change was it was just like an emphasis of, if you're gonna compete now, like now we got to be serious. Like now we got to take training seriously. Like not that I wasn't before, but just the level and the focus had to be better, more intense, more dialed in. You know, Now it was all right. Like we saw what you did in this match against this kid. All right, but how can we improve that? How can we do more? What else can we add? What little moves or techniques can we do? So just a lot more focus and discipline, I'd say.
And given that maybe things changed a little bit once you started competing and
Mm.
mindset or approach,
Right.
was there ever like looking forward to high school being like, okay, now it's time to set, now I want to be a state champion or a four-time placer, a four-time,
Mhm.
whatever the goal is. Did you turn your attention to high school and start thinking about these things?
Yeah, I definitely say I did. Um, I think I think not as much as some people expect, though, um, because just growing up with my dad and the system and his ways, and in our room, it was almost like, you know, you're expected to place or win a state title. you know. That was kind of like the bare minimum almost, and it wasn't because it was like you have to do this or you're not a good wrestler. It was just it was or how am I trying to say this? It was you're expected to win a state title because I've given you the moves and technique and the training that no one else in the world is going to give you. So like why can you not do it? And all you have to do is just go out there and believe in yourself, and it'll just happen basically. Um, And yeah, also too, my dad put a really big emphasis on national level tournaments and making sure that I thought that high school wasn't going to be this big like shock and awe moment when I got there, right? Like
Yeah.
he really made it so it was like high school was just it's just another tournament, just another stepping stone to get into the next level. Um, I mean, I always remember, I'd say as far as I can remember, like it was always worlds and Olympics, like focus, work towards those. Like those should be your goals. It was like, yeah, state championship's nice, national championship is nice, but like we want some real goals, I guess.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, just putting that emphasis on such a high level, really when you look at high school, it makes you think like, oh, like this isn't that bad, or like it's nothing too crazy to worry about. Like, I still want to do this and I still want to win high school, but I also know that I have a much higher ceiling or calling that's there at the end of the day.
Sure. So just like the fact that, we are focused on at the time winning state titles and being successful, but it wasn't like the end all be all, right? You knew it was just a step to the
Yeah.
next level. Is the
hmm
case is the same? Is it the same with NCAA? Not that you're not training hard and focusing on NCAAs right now, but bigger picture, are you thinking of this as like this is just a step to get to the next level?
Um, yeah, to an extent, I would say. With NCAs, it's a little bit more serious than high school. High school, you just you can go to Super 32, but you're still going to wrestle kids that maybe it's their first, second year wrestling,
Mhm.
where, NCAs in college, you're wrestling guys that have been wrestling their whole life. They're tough. They're tough. They're going to fight you, not let you have much. So definitely a stepping stone, but this, this I think I'm taking it almost as like, this is that training area, that level where you build and build and build and get this confidence and this charisma and just this kind of like own uniqueness to your wrestling. Um, and then you really kind of develop it over time. Um, so, yeah.
Okay, I like that. And your dad coached at Ohio State. You grew up around Ohio State, but only he coached the early parts of your life. Was it
Hmm.
a no brainer to become a Buckeye, or did you look around and weigh your options and maybe heavily consider other schools?
Yeah, I did. I did consider schools a lot. Actually, if you want the truth, this may sound really bad, but I never wanted to come to Ohio State. It was just too close, I felt, to being around my dad. But that kind of changed. That was like my sophomore year when I was thinking about that. Like I remember talking to like my good friends, and we were thinking about stuff, and they asked me like, "Would you go to Ohio State?" And I was like, "No way, dude! Like way too close to home. Like I'm getting out of here. Like I'm gonna be my own person." And then you grow up a little bit and you realize like, hey, it's not bad. Like dad's not driving down every day to watch practice, or he's not calling you every 5 minutes. Like now he's just there to help you and get you to the next level, and you kind of realize that, and everything else. And Tom Ryan and all the coaches here really did a good job at just showing me Ohio State and expressing like what happens in college, and what the expectation is, and how everything works. And so then I really did like fall in love with Ohio State, which was really cool to me because it was a school right in my backyard that I never really considered too highly. And then the people and the coaches made me fall in love, and that's what makes me love Ohio State even more.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So you come in red shirt right away. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I think you went undefeated during the red shirt year, right?
Yeah, that first season.
So now I'm sure you have high expectations for yourself. The next year comes and bam, you get an injury. Walk me through that and like how that changed things and maybe perspective at some point.
Yeah, that one was really tough. Um, just the whole thing. I think that whole year with COVID, not even knowing if we were going to be back wrestling, coming back and wrestling, telling us our season's going to happen, but then having it push back and push back and push back. Um, and then right when we were like at the end of the tunnel, like about to see the light, I get the injury, and it's like, whoa, shit, like what now, dude? Like that was tough. That really hurt. And I think what made it even tougher too was it was, I want to say, like 2 or 3 weeks after the RTC Cup when they had that going on, and I wrestled there, and I did really well, and I had that confidence in me, and like that readiness and eagerness to be like, yeah, I'm gonna attack this season, and like I'm gonna go out here, make a name for myself, and do something. And then you're in practice working on wrestling, and you hurt yourself, and it plays tricks on your head, and just, yeah, it was really tough. It was a really tough time. And just to see too, it kind of felt like all the work that I had done during the COVID and like during the times that we were away just kind of went to waste. Um, so that was really tough to deal with, and I needed some help, and I had a good support system around me then, and they saw that, and they kind of acted on it pretty quickly. And it helped me just steady my mind more than anything. My body was going to be okay. I trusted my doctors and everything going on, but it was more kind of like the mental aspect and just being able to stay in to wrestling and not look at it and completely lose myself and all the training I'd done or the focus I'd put in. Um, so yeah. it was definitely a lot more mental than physical, I'd say. And I mean, I'm just grateful to have the people I have in my life that were able to help me at that time.
Yeah, I think you said it played tricks on my mind, and I needed help, and people could see that. Can you
Hmm.
elaborate on that? Like what
Um,
that's like, or what exactly
yeah,
that
I
entails?
think I think just for me, it was kind of um, I did feel like the pressure and expectations from people, and then not being able to compete because of an injury kind of made me feel like I didn't like live up to them or didn't make people happy almost, which is kind of like almost psychotic to say. You're injured. Like what can you do? But I still wanted to like be there and go out there and prove it. And I think I wanted to prove it to myself too. I had that great redshirt year. I had that great showing at the RTC Cup, and I wanted to go out there and show it at college at NCAs, and just not being able to was really tough. Um, I remember I remember too when the national tournament came around, like, people were asking me like, "You doing okay? Like, you feeling all right?" Big Tens, I watched Big Tens like no problem, which was crazy. Now that I think about it, didn't really have any upsets or anything. I was just kind of watching it like another tournament. But NCA's really got me. That one really stung. I remember waking up that uh, that morning after finals, and I just kind of saw everything going on. People winning, people losing. Um, I basically watched the whole finals over again. The morning I woke up after, and then after that, I just kind of like broke down. I mean, wasn't much I could do or fix. It was just kind of like I just realized like it's over, and that was a year that I'm not going to get back, or an opportunity to wrestle that wasn't going to be there. Um, it was tough. I remember just talking to like my roommates and my girlfriend, and I was just like I need people around me, like I need somebody here with me, because it was tough to just see, and it was that like realization of like the whole season's done,
Yeah,
like now you got to wait till next year, and there was nothing I could do. Um, so yeah, that was probably the hardest day I had to go through. Um, but but yeah, like I said, people were there and they were around me and they really helped me. And I mean, I just can't express how grateful I am. So
sure. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. That might, I don't know if
yeah,
that might not be real easy for some people. Maybe that wasn't easy for you, but I would imagine at the time, that morning after when things got tough, you're like, I gotta wait a whole another year. Probably felt like forever, but like
yeah,
it's almost February, right, of 2022, and like
yeah,
now looking back, it probably feels time flies.
yeah.
Compare how you felt
Uh,
that day to how you feel today, mentally, probably more than anything.
but yeah, mentally, it's more so just like look how far you've been, look how far you've gone. You were at one of your lowest points, and now you're at a spot where you're at a pretty good high, a pretty steady head, keeping it consistent. It feels good, I mean, it just feels good to be here and to be wrestling. Um, I think that's one thing that this injury just kind of taught me. Like love it, hate it. I mean, everyone's gonna have those days in wrestling where it's tough and it's brutal, and it feels like the weight of the world's on your shoulders, but you got to just understand that you may not get this opportunity every day. So just go out there and take it. You know, go to practice, and even if you feel terrible, feel bad, just play something in your head or say something to yourself, where you're just going to try and get everything that you can out of practice.
Yeah,
Maybe it's one of those days where you're cutting weight, you feel like shit, and body's hurting you, but just like go in there and say like, okay, what can I get out of this? Even though I'm feeling like I am right now, like what's the most I can get out of this? What's the most I can do to be better? And maybe that doesn't look like gutting yourself and kicking everyone's butt in the room, or having a killer practice. Maybe it looks like focusing in on some technique, or just going and making sure that your moves are crisp, and being mentally ready to compete. Like maybe that's what it looks like. So just being able to look at every day as a new situation and a new way to compete, I think is pretty big.
That's like I think that's a really impressive mindset that you just described, and I think it's great how the way you feel compared to 10, 11 months ago. Was
Yeah.
there like was it gradual getting back from probably one of your lowest lows to a high in a really strong perspective, or was there like something that flipped a switch here or there that you realized or thought differently?
Right. I'd say it was probably over time. Um, just coming back, there wasn't really, the first month or two you're back, you can't really do too much.
Yeah.
Just with the injury I had, so that was like a slow comeback, but I think that's what brought the confidence slowly back into me. It wasn't like a instant click that just
Right.
happened, and I'm like, boom, I'm back, like, better than ever. Um, yeah, it was slowing over time, and it's tough too because you have this injury. You may do good for 2 months, and then you hit a time where it's just like, oh man, like this week I'm just not feeling it, and
Yeah.
that's one of those things too where like you can start playing with your head again if you don't have good mentality about it or a way to approach it. So that was one of those things too. There were a couple times where I did have setbacks, and there were some times too where it was like, yeah, like my leg or my knee is bugging me. Like I'm gonna have to take this day off, that day off, maybe a week off, but then coming back into it, it really makes you look ahead and not in the moment. Makes you look at, okay, well, I can do this right now and I can push myself and I can fight through it, but is that going to help me 2 weeks from now? Is that going to help me a
Yeah.
month from now? Is that going to help me at NCAs? So changes your perspective.
Do you is it possible that at that sometimes you have to physically rest and take days off to physically heal, that can also like be a good thing mentally to just like mentally relax?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely a lot. I think that's one of the things that I had to really understand was sometimes taking those days off and that rest is actually better for you than just trying to grind it out.
Yeah.
You know, um, I think that's one thing in do. We just get so caught up in behind, and you have to work, and if you miss one workout or one day, you're gonna lose it. You're not gonna win a national title. I think that's something that we need to say is stupid. You know,
Yeah.
um, I mean, I think if you ask any of our senior level guys, I think they take their body and how they recover, to the extreme. And I think that's why you can see the longevity in our sport just guys right now is because they understand that you can't beat up your body every day and expect to perform. It's like getting a car and never changing the oil or changing the tires. Like, it's gonna fall apart on you. It's gonna break. Like you have to rest, you have to recover. That only brings you back stronger. So
Great analogy. I freaking love it. And yeah, Division One wrestling is brutal. It really is. I'm not gonna say that they train harder than the senior level athletes, but it looks like it at times. But I think that obviously the senior level they know how to do it as smart and efficient as possible. Um, and I'm not in most college rooms all the time, but yeah,
yeah,
it's brutal. It really is. Um,
yeah.
so how do you feel about where you are at this point in the season with I don't know, what do we got 6 weeks left or something like that? 8? Not even.
Yeah, something like that. Um, I feel good. I feel confident. Feel ready. I think if anything, it's more so just how can you prepare and how can I look forward to Big Tens or NCAAs, and just keeping myself, physically healthy, mentally healthy, making sure the team is where we want it to be. I think um, I think just being consistent too, and not faltering or not thinking you have to do any more or any less than what you're already doing, but just being consistent with what's gotten you here and what is possible or capable with what you've been doing. So yeah, I mean, I feel good. I think I think for me, I feel really good just because I'm back wrestling and finally wrestling Big Ten NCAA schedule. That feels really good.
Sure. Um, we already talked about it. You beat former number one Alex Marinelli. You're at number four in the rankings. O'Toole, Griffith, and Wick are ranked ahead of you. Um, them or anybody else, like I guess I'm getting to the point is film, scouting, being aware of the top guys in the country. Do you do a lot, some, a little, or not really any of that?
Um, I don't really do too much of that. I kind of think, it's at the end of the day, it's wrestling.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own thing. I got my thing, they have their thing.
Yeah.
I respect everyone and how they wrestle and what they do. I think if you don't respect that, then you're silly. You have to, obviously. Everyone's proved it. Everyone's good
Yeah.
enough to win it. Um, but I think sometimes, if you put an emphasis on what everyone else is doing, you're gonna forget what you're supposed to do. Um, so it's not that I don't watch film or don't see anything, but I don't make it a point to be like, oh yeah, like Big Tens or NCAAs are coming up. Like I gotta watch this guy like 10 times, or I gotta watch so many of his matches. It's just like no, like, and I think too, like once you get to this level, we all kind of know what we all do. Everyone kind of knows what everyone's good at. It's more so just how can you make yourself better and how can you make yourself good in your positions while also trying to figure out how to beat other guys in theirs.
Yeah, for sure. Um, okay, Carson, I learned a lot, actually, a lot more than I knew at the beginning of this interview, but we are getting closer to the end, but Kyle Klingman's waiting in the wings, and he's got some questions for you, and he's hoping to stump you, so get ready.
Uh-oh. All right.
Before we get to those, we got to know, why is your last name different than your dad's?
That is a um, long story, but I'll try to make it short. So basically, my dad, he's from a small country that's called Abkhazia. It's right next to Georgia on the Black Sea. And at the time when my dad was competing for the Soviet Union, it was all just controlled by them. And so they only recognized really one language, Russian. But my dad's language, Abkhazian, is a little different than Russian. It's actually a lot different, has its own different alphabet and everything. And so when my dad immigrated here to the U.S., he only had a Soviet Union passport at the time, which was in Russian. And that's what they used to get his papers and documentation. And when they gave him like his, citizenship or whatever, and they had his last name spelt out on it, it said Harchilava. My dad was like, okay, that's wrong. Like, it's actually Harchla. But it was translated from Russian and not Abkhazian. And that's why his
Ah,
name is longer. And so he could have changed it, but then they said, we're not sure how long it'll take to change the name and to get your citizenship. And at the time, my dad had been waiting like 10 years to get his citizenship. He was like, I don't care. Like, yeah, it's fine. But they're like, you can name your kids whatever you want. Like, your kid's last name can be different. And so my last name is the Abkhazian pronunciation and the way you spell it. And his last name is the Russian translation.
okay.
So,
And so it's Harchla. You don't say the K. Is that right?
yeah. Yep.
Okay. Carson Harchla. Got it.
Yep.
History lessons here. I love it.
We got that out of the way. So next segment, sweat it out. 5 questions. We're going to see if we can make you sweat. Are you ready to play?
All right. Yeah. Let's go.
Number 1, what year did Ohio State defeat Oklahoma and Oklahoma State in the same day?
Gosh.
No clue. No clue.
Yeah.
Your dad was part of this. It was the 2002 National Duels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think I was there.
I think it was the,
Actually.
were you? I
Yeah,
think it was the
we wrestled
only
on that.
time that's happened, or the first time. So, number 2, we asked this of your teammate Caleb Romero in this same segment. He didn't get it right. We're going to give you a crack to see if you get it right. Name the only Ohio State wrestling graduate who is a head coach at another Division I wrestling program.
Shoot. I don't even know. Who would that be?
He's trying to give you a hint.
What is that?
Oh,
Oh, what does Tamara do?
Art?
Yeah, so that's part
Art?
of it. It's a little
No,
more
I don't-
obscure.
All
I don't
right. His
know.
name is John Clark of Sacred Heart.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense now. All right.
Okay. All right.
I didn't
Number
know
3.
when you said it made sense. Yeah, so.
All right,
Okay.
Carson, come on now. You got this.
Number 3, what Ohio State wrestler earned a first period technical fall in the 1998 NCAA tournament finals?
Is that Mitch Clark?
Yep, we got one there.
There we
Brother
go.
of John Clark. Did you know that?
Yeah.
John Clark.
Yeah.
Number 4, name the Ohio State wrestler who placed second at the World Championships and became the first UFC champion in the heavyweight division.
Well, there's two guys I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
He was also, well, I mean, both were NCAA champs, so that didn't help.
Was it? Was it Randleman? Wasn't him, was it? Kevin Randleman?
No.
No.
Was it the Hammer?
Yeah.
He's gonna say it, and
Wow.
you're gonna be like, "Oh, I knew that."
His name's Mark
Yeah.
Coleman. Mark
Yeah.
Coleman. And number 5, Ohio is the birthplace of 7 U.S. presidents. Name one.
Oh my God. Um,
I have no idea.
um,
Mark didn't know either.
shoot. Was it Taft? Not him, no.
You got, hey, don't, yeah, you got one. Don't even, you said tap. Just
All right.
cut bait, man. You got one. So I'm just cutting you off so you get it and don't even question. So you
Wait,
got
there
2.
we go.
Nice
Sweet.
work.
Nice.
You're out of the hot box.
All right, you're out of the hot box. Oh, but back in it, last game, and then we'll send you on your way.
Uh-huh.
This is called wins and whoopings, right? So if you
Okay.
can think over the span of your career, I guess from 8th grade till last weekend, can you give me one win, and maybe it's last weekend, maybe it's something else, and one loss
Okay.
that are memorable for whatever reason? A big win, an upset, a revenge loss, a comeback. You know, anything you want, but whatever's one match that's a memorable win, and then like the opposite, like one just ass whooping you took that just sucked. You came off the mat, you don't know what happened. The guy just beat the tar out of you. Everybody's got at least one of those. So one win,
Yeah.
one loss. You can do either one first.
Okay. I think one loss. Let's see. So I have two. Sorry, breaking
That's okay.
breaking it a little bit, but
Make your own
one of
rules.
them was my first year at Fargo. I wrestled Sammy Sasso. Me and him were in the same bracket, and Sammy beat me. And I only remember the first period, but we went the second period. So yeah, He beat me. I don't remember the score. I don't remember what happened the second period, but the first period, I'm pretty sure I was ahead, and then he came back and beat me. So that's one of them. And I remember it just because I'm like, now he's my teammate and
Oh.
one of my good friends. So I just think it's funny. And then the um, second one is against second one, same thing. Fargo, first year. It was third, fourth place match, and I wrestled Brayton Lee,
Uh-huh.
and I think he was like the most energetic kid I've ever wrestled at that time.
He
I was
goes.
like, holy, like just so much. The hand fight, just fakes, attacks. I think I was in that match, and I was like, I'm doing like all these moves and flips, and it was just didn't work out. And I don't know if he teched me or if I lost like 9-1 or something like that. But yeah, that was one of those matches where I was like, what the heck just happened, you know?
Uh-huh.
Um, and then a win, um, memorable win. I think I'd say um, Wrestlebacks of Fargo. Gosh, they're all from Fargo. Must be
It's a theme here.
Wrestlebacks for Fargo. It was my first year as a junior, I want to say, and I lost like the first match and wrestled 9 or 10 back, something like that, to go for third and fourth. And it was Wrestleback semifinals, and I had Jake Aller, I want to say, Alir, and he was the returning national champ. And that match was memorable because I was like a battle, like just back and forth, like one takedown after another, each guy. And then I remember I was down one, or no, I was down three with like 20 seconds left. And I had to go get a takedown in a turn and went for this slick high crotch. Then he stopped me, and I had to get big and drive through it, and then got him down, got the turn, and won it literally on the last second. Like that was like a last second like win for me,
Yeah.
and I haven't had many of those. And that one was memorable just because the whole day, you wrestle 6, 7 matches, and you just beat up. You feel like you can barely move, and then to eke that one out at the end, that was pretty sweet.
It's like warrior mentality.
Yeah,
Plenty of matches at Fargo, obviously,
yeah.
to make things memorable. Heck yeah, man. Well, that's been a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, growing up with, the unique path you took with your dad and overcoming injury and getting to the point where you are today. And I just really appreciate you spending some time with us, and it's been great getting to know you and your story a little bit more. We'll give you the last word, anything you may want to say before you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, just thanks for having me. Thanks for bringing me on. You guys are great. Everything you do for wrestling is awesome. Thanks for promoting our sport and getting it out there to the world. Um, I mean, yeah, I'm just excited. Looking forward to season. Go Bucks. We're the best. I don't know, something
Yeah,
like that.
go
Whatever I'm
Bucks.
supposed to.
That's love. I love it,
But
man. I love it. We're excited to see you compete the rest of the season and really the rest of your career. So it's going to be a joy. Thanks so much, and have a great day.
yeah, thank you guys for having me.
All right, you bet. See ya. All right, Kyle Carson Kharchla. Um, Great kid, man. Fantastic interview. Really cool to get to know that background about him.
It was, and I'm glad to learn about just the H is hard on that because I heard it pronounced that way. I was like, Harchley. They keep calling him Harchla. Why? So now we find out.
K is silent.
Yep.
And the Hartslav, whatever his dad was, the different alphabets and languages, and even, or yeah, alphabets, right? The different, all kinds of different stuff. You learn new stuff all the time, Kyle. Anything from you before we go, Mr. Klingman?
Yeah, there is. There's a big dual meet this weekend. Iowa, Penn State,
I heard
Carver.
about that.
I know that Flo is going to be covering that with a FloWrestling radio broadcast. So tune into that. and be part of history. It's an iconic dual meet. It's turned into that, and can't wait.
Yeah, always a blast. I'm sure it'll be packed out there at Carver, and it'll be loud, and it will be fun. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you next week. For Kyle Klingman, I'm Mark Bader. Adios.